that he says, Pai na Jehi, or Jehi na Pai, if we change it a little bit. When we don't have this body, Paralokasamana, there is no possibility for us to get enlightenment or darshan. Imagine the power we hold the devotees in holding a human form. At whatever age we might find it in life, at whatever situation we might find it in life, whether cold or warm even, it unifies us all, that power. Imagine that power we hold the devotees to the extent that even the Devtas look upon us with a little bit of envy. And why so? Because of the same thing I said just now, held in this body, coded into this body, waiting to be expressed. The ability to worship, the ability to devotees, the power to exercise bhakti. I will give you one more caution in a mode of humility, in a mode of awareness, not so much teaching, as we prepare to listen. We have this body, it is the repository of all spiritual values. One thing, devotees, we must do also acknowledge, I should say, is we shouldn't take it for granted. We shouldn't take this body for granted. Swami Tulsidas reaffirms this again, close to where he said this to Pai. He said, Naraka Swarga Apavarga Niseni. Naraka Swarga Apavarga Niseni. To paraphrase that, Goswami Tulsidas is saying this body we have, it has to do something. It has to act in a certain way. We consider it, let's just consider it, for example, saying a vehicle to take us along a path, and that path tonight is spirituality, spiritual advancement. Goswami Tulsidas says life as a whole is not horizontal like a road. When you take a journey, especially if you're in Florida, you picture a flat road. Goswami Tulsidas doesn't characterize this life of ours as a flat horizontal plane. He characterizes it instead, devotees, as not vertical necessarily, but a slanted gradient. Image is that of a ladder. And he says this body that we have, we should not take it for granted, because the same body that we all possess, we all have the option to go upward, downward, or stay stagnant. So we are at a decision point. If we're listening and we would like to adopt this message, what we're about to listen to in Sri Ramcharitra, our decisions tonight roughly can be placed as we listen and we become impressed by what we hear. We become impressed and possibly even moved by the glories of Bhagavan. And then we move on with our lives. Another option we can take is we can squander this gem that we have of this human body, this human condition, and let it go to waste. We have a third option also. We can seek, we can discover this power locked within our own existence. And if we remain merely impressed devotees, nothing will happen in life. We won't die. Bhagavan wouldn't come and strike us and punish us. But we will continue to listen to Harikatha for a long time, with possibly no change in our lives. So I do not recommend that. If we squander the privilege, again nothing will happen to us. I will not sit here and tell you your life will change and you leave here and something will happen to you. However, what will happen is this. When we squander the powers that have been invested in us, and we allow it to be latent, we continue to depend on other people, other places, other relationships, and other types of help, so to speak. We will forever depend on others for our own well-being. But if we become the seekers like I'm recommending tonight, then life becomes a journey of constant devotees, discovery, a journey of constant revelations, of constant blessings, happiness and contentment. And who here doesn't want that rewarded life? Who doesn't want to be rewarded with this? So I submit to you devotees humbly, as we begin with our katha tonight, that the conditions are right. The conditions are right for us to seek the divine through His Mahima or His glories. Tonight, as you heard before, we are in Aranyakam, or the forest chapter of Sri Ramacharita. The recommendations of Ramayan Katha itself will begin with Sumiran and Dhyan. We are in Ramayan, which implies that Sri Ram, as we've heard from Pandit Manoj Ji last night, he gave us a very good understanding of the events that unfolded in Ayodhya, sorry. And so, with the marriage of Sitama and the brothers, Sitama to Sri Ram, I should say, and the other brothers to the sisters and cousins in Mithilapur, the arrival of the Bharat, etc., a calamitous turn of events. As Panditji mentioned last night, Tapasaveshwari Sekhi Udasi Chaudhara Bhara Shri Rama Banavasi. Shri Ram is now in Banavas. We take our Katha tonight in the midst of Banavas. Shri Ram has been recently, I will say, traveling through the forests and forced to move because of different circumstances, etc. He ended up settling at a point in our Katha into a little forested area called Panchavati. In this area of Panchavati, Lakshmana has just built a dwelling, a hut, an ashram, if you will, for the Lord to reside in. And it is important to know that Bhagavan's intention at this point in Aranyaka, Bhagavan's intention was to remain put, to not move, but to spend that Banvas, those 14 years, close to Ayodhya, close to the kingdom, and accessible to everything. And so they chose a spot, Swami Tulsidas describes, that was close to the Ganga, so water is available, and also close to the sages. Goswami Tulsidas opens the curtains tonight in the life of the Lord, in Sitama, Maya Lakshmana, for our eyes, for the eyes of our consciousness to gaze upon. And the irony tonight, devotees, the irony of this peaceful scene that will shortly visit us, Sikha. The irony of this scene of contentment from the Goswami, the irony is sharp. The irony is sharp to the extent that it cuts devotees, as this day in question, as we hear it described now, will end so far differently from the way it started. How does this day begin? Goswami Tulsidas, as he opens the curtains, he uses the pen, devotees, he moves the pen of Charitramanas and he paints, he writes, he imprints on our consciousness, Rama, Ranga. We take our first book. They found this suitable spot and they're settling into their new routine now. Simply built hut in Panchavati. And life at that point for the Lord was much like the sages that resided in that area. They took a bath in the morning, they performed what we will say is Trisandhya, for those of us who understand. And then visits the sages, they flocked to the ashram of Sri Ram. For what? Darshan of the Lord. Goswami Tulsidas himself said, Janma Janma Muni Chatana Karayantaram Kahi Avatana Ayan. So these sages in Panchavati had the darshan come to them. What bhagya devotees, what fortune. So they all saw the darshan of the Lord. And on this particular day, as this day unfolds, Lakshman, the dutiful brother that he is, lay in a mood of Halakanda. He left the ashram to go gather for his brother and his sister-in-law, who he considered as a mother, Ma Sita, to gather fruit, leaves and wood to bring back to the ashram. And so Sri Ram was left there with Ma Sita alone. And Sri Ram he looked at Shakti Ma Sita, Narayani in avatar, and he began, as he had a moment alone, he began to make a request of Ma Sita. What was this request, devotees? We take our first chapter. Poised to happen, I should say. With this moment alone, the Lord and Sri Ram makes this request. What is it? Sunahu Priya Vrat Ruchira Susila. Sri Ram says to Sita, my dearest, my Devi, my Shakti, the time has come for me to advance the plot of avatar. Or in other words, to begin my avatar. Mai kachu karavi lalit naralila. He says, I must now plan to certain place into motion and act not anymore as Purusha or Bhagwan, but as Manusha or as man. Lalit naralila, so that I can free my servants in bondage, Jai and Vijay. The Lord devotees, he then said to Sita, Tumha pavakmahu karavu nivasa. He says, O Devi, O Narayani, O Shakti of mine, I now ask you to please take leave of your true identity and assume the form of Brahmacharini, Day3. This is an interesting request of the Lord that allows you and me as a seeker to discern two important truths about Sri Ram Charitamanas. The first, Karave Lalit Nara Leela. Bhagwan is about to enact. He's about to act, so to speak, devotees, and not experience the actions that will follow today in Ramcharitamanas. These are not the first-handed experiences of Bhagwan as the Lord. These are the experiences of Bhagwan as Manusya, as Nara, performing Leela. It becomes important for us to know this, and possibly in the future, when we attend or continue to attend our Ramcharitra, Manas, Pravachan and so on, all of the knowledgeable pundits of our communities, wherever you might be, will explain this in detail. We can't stop and express everything in detail. But it is important for you to understand tonight as we discern certain things, certain truths. Now this is not Bhagwan from here on. This is Bhagwan declaring as Goswami Tulsidas documents, he is now going to engage in Leela. Lalita, this playful, literally devotees, or this up and down, so to speak, this worldly type of Nara Leela, ways of man. The second is this, Tumha Pavak Mahu. Pavak here devotees is a reference to, Pavak means pure. Pavak is a purifier. The purifier is fire. It's literal fire in the gross sense. But also devotees Tej or Agni. Agni in the cosmic sense. And it is important for us to stop and recognize this, because we say very loosely, and this is not a criticism, it is some of the things that we regularly and routinely think about. If we stop and just analyze a little bit more, we get a little bit more rest, we get a little bit more substance, a little bit more to think about. We say Sita goes into the fire. What if somebody challenges us on that and say, so all your Lord let the wife go and burn up in the fire? How do we respond to that? Some of these things help devotees for us to understand. So he says, Tum pavak mahu karun nivasa. Now Sita devotees, she entered into the fire, like I said, as we hear so often. And it is true, but per Goswami Tulsidas, it is the narrative. But the truth is, devotees, the reality of it is that she resolved, so to speak, or she withdrew into herself her pure divine state. Remember, Sita, this one is Narayani. She is Mahalakshmi. Okay? She withdrew her divine state, which is Shakti, and in its place, she replaced it with the consciousness of another form. That form, this is Brahmacharini, or a child known as Vedvati. So this was a switch, so to speak, a bait and switch, to use cliche. Why? Why does this have to happen? Why did this happen in the first place? This is as a general devotee's resource. Vedvati, this person who has now taken the place of Sita, this consciousness that was replaced, had to come there and do this for a reason. She was destined to do this. And this is an act of divine intervention. Let's just say for simplicity's sake, right? To uncomplicate it, Sita Ma's energy left. And so Vedvati's energy appeared in Sita Ma. But this Vedvati was the granddaughter of one of the Devtas of Brihaspati. And what happened is, essentially, an attempt was made by Ravan, okay, to interact with her in a very inappropriate way, to interact with a young child, a young brahmacharini, okay? And that is putting it mildly. We read between the lines. Ravan attempted to do this, and this devotee is highly offended her, infuriated her, and with the power of her sacrifices, she was in the process of performing tapasya, right? She cursed him. She gave him a shrap. And the shrap was that not just him, his entire lineage will be destroyed, will find their death by her curse and by her hands. Through the power of that penance, devotees, the same power that I spoke about, her body was resolved. It was taken in her existence, right? It was withdrawn and held until this point when it reappeared in the body of Sita. And time passed as she makes her appearance here now, to ensure that this Dushta Ravan and his family will be destroyed. This Ravan devotees, this was just one instance of how Ravan set himself up, right, for failure in life. a life of ultimate power, a life of ultimate enjoyment, a life of ultimate riches and recognition, to the extent devotees that he had the protection of the gods. Shankar Maharaj protected Ravan. So careful when we call him a Rakshas. All of these things do fall into the realm of a Rakshas. This unbridled power devotee is met with a fiery end. Because of the abuse of the powers that he has. And there are many interesting things I like to share during this katha about Ravan, but in the interest of time, maybe another time. But I will whet your appetite a little bit, titillate your senses, and tell you that this is one of 11 srab. 11 srab devotees Ravan received in his life for the very same thing that did. People caused him to die. This Vedvati devotee, this one, this will be the case of his demise in this avatar, Shree Avatar in Treta. So, Sita Devi entered into the state of power. Vedvati now emerged in her place. When Vedvati appeared, she approached to Sri Ram there in the forest and bowed to him as Anant Harinarayan, as Satyanarayana Swami. She prostrated before him and she said, Prabhu, merciful indeed you are. Merciful you are. You champion my cause in this way. That devotee is again the subject of another katha. So this is the scene, coming back to the katha, this is the scene that we find ourselves witnessing in the eyes of the consciousness, like I said earlier tonight. Sri Ram, Lakshmana has left for a while. Sri Ram has made this request of Sita Ma, and this switch of soul has been taken, has happened. At the same time that this has happened, a second or another stage is being set elsewhere, far away in the kingdom of Ravan. This second stage is being set in Lanka. And what does this one have to do with the other? Well, Goswami Tulsidas is bringing this sharp irony that I spoke about, is bringing it to meet, to clash, to climax in tonight's katha. Goswami now pulls the curtain on a second scene, a second sambad as we say, or second meeting. This one in Lanka, with it. Goswami Tulsidas document. What does this katha narrate? With a 7 again. This second scene that is unfolding in Lanka, at the same time that this was happening, where the switch was taking place between Vedvati and Vaidehi, Ravan and Lanka came to know that Sri Ram had taken his abode in that forest that we just read about. This happens through a series of events which started with Surpanakha, Ravan's own sister. And so devotees, there was a little bit of a conflict and she was slashed, so to speak, by Lakshman. And she came back to her brother. And she said, brother, there are two princes there in that dark forest there. And look at what they did to me. They slashed me. Right? And we were listening to people so you can understand this too. He chopped me. Okay? And she went to complain to her brother. And she says, you know, brother, to avenge this, you must take revenge for me. Take revenge, brother, for your sister. And so Surpanakha knew, she knew his weakness. As powerful as he was, we should take note too. As powerful as we could be, right? Our weaknesses are very obvious too. And sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, and sometimes it comes out in the plain sight too. Surpanakha knew. She knew his weakness, and you know his weakness too. What did he try to do with Devati? That is a terrible weakness. It was a sign of a papi, of the highest order. So she said, knowing how to get him, she said, brother, go take revenge for me. And you know what? There's something in it for you too. See that prince there who is very chopped? Right? Nice wife. Nice girl there. Right? Now when devotees, hearing that, he agreed to do Surpanakha's will. And how did Ravan seek to carry out this plan? Dasamukh Gayahu, he went to meet somebody, Maricha. Ravan went inside of his kingdom, to an old Rakshas living right there within the kingdom of Lanka. And this Rakshas was his uncle. And he went by the name of Marich. This Marich devotees, though he was a Rakshas, he was now old. He was very seasoned, in the career of being a Rakshas, so to speak. But more importantly, he was transformed. He was a transformed Rakshas. How does a Rakshas transform? Okay? Well, this Marich, in his previous birth, he was actually part of this whole drama with Jai and Vijay, who ultimately we know becomes Ravan and Kundara. He was one of the servants there. And just like Jai and Vijay received Shrap, right, to come as Rakshas, Maharachas in 3 lives, because of his Asur nature, this Marich, he received a curse also from Narayan Bhagwan himself. And he begged for forgiveness. Narayan Bhagwan said, my wood has already been given, I have made my sankalp, but this curse is yours. But Bhagwan being all merciful, he said, I will free you of this curse myself. And so devotees, we find, coming closer to we find Marish today. He was born and he resided in the Dandak forest, which is close to where Ayodhya is. And some of us, I think allusion was made to it in a previous time. While he lived there, he was trained. He had a brother named Subahu. Marish and Subahu, these two brothers, they were trained by the sages there in warfare and battle. Vishwamitra himself. And what they did is, by virtue of learning this, Vishwamitra was a sage. They performed Yagna, Tapasya. They were in the practice of performing their worship in the forest. Having learned all of these skills from the sages, they turned around the devotees and started to harass the sages with these same skills. Trained in warfare devotees, they started to terrorize the sages as they performed their Yagna. And so, some of us are in familiar territory now. Vishwamitra made the journey, a short journey to Ayodhya, and he asked Raja Dasarath for the 2 boys, Sri Ram and Lakshman. And so they came there and they interacted. They actually eliminated the threat from Vishwamitra, and there were 2 threats. One was Subahu, one was Marich. Subahu was not as lucky as Marich. Subahu get killed. But Marich said, Sri Ram took a headless arrow and hit him with the shoulder, I believe. And he said it pitched him so far that he fly up in the air and he fall on right inside Lanka. Okay, and falling on the devotees, he was picked up. He was picked up by Ravan. And Ravan offered him shelter. He gave him a spot to live. So here we find Marish and Lanka. We know why he's there now. Marish, now aware of the power of the Lord, Sri Ram, finding that spot and getting that shelter, getting a second chance, so to speak, at life, or at least at spirituality, he converted that spot that Ramayan gave him into an ashram. This Rakshas now, this is what we call a Brahm Rakshas, right? Rakshas, but you have big thigh jatan thing, long beard thing. Okay? You wouldn't know the Rakshas, right? If you just go by appearances. So, this marriage, he took the appearance of a Rakshas, of a yogi, because he was engaged. To be fair to him, he was engaged and he began Ashtam Yoga, he began to practice his tapasya. Until we find today's Katha, he is being called upon by the emperor of the times of now. How did that go, devotees? Dasamukh gayahu jaha Marisha. He went to Marish. Right? How do you think something like that will go to some Tulsidas? Doesn't even guess it. He continues to describe. He approached this marriage and true to his nature as a treacherous person, as an untrustworthy person, as a self-serving person, humility. Okay? Khalkai Priyamani. He feigned humility and respectfulness as he approached his own uncle and acting out of character devotees. Goswami Tulsidas dedicates a little bit of time here, talking about these types of individuals, and it's a good place for us to maybe pause and take a few lessons in life. One of the great treasures that Ramcharitamanas holds for us is that it is not a linear scripture. It doesn't speak only about liberation. It doesn't speak only, right, about how to attain Bhagwan. Because Sri Rama's Maryadit, as we hear many times, he is the exemplar. It holds many lessons for us in our practical lives. I will not be doing justice to my position as a Vyas if I didn't bring some of them out. So we listen for a little bit. Goswami uses a word, it's almost like an Sanskrit word. That word is kuhaya. Right? What is kuhaya? It's a little bit earlier about that. Kuhaya is the ill-intentioned person. You must be careful. The ill-intentioned person is not somebody who necessarily intentionally, right, means bad. But our intentions can take us to bad places. Who are the people that falls under this class of Kubaya? Don't call nobody that there, please. Right? Just listen. Hey, no baby calling us over. Alright? Who falls under the classification of a Kubaya? An untrustworthy, a treacherous, and a sly person. Right? If you know somebody who like that, please don't say it. Just think. You know somebody like that, that was called a suddenly devotees come to you, very nice and humble, okay, and amiable in front of your face. Say, Kuhaya, and run away. Right? Who else? A parent. I wouldn't be as I said, Karavan has told them before I leave here. But the truth is the truth. A parent that acts as a friend to his or her children never ends up well. Don't call your parents Kuhaya, please. That'll be on my head. I know it all. There's a next interesting one. Maybe we'll come to that if time permits. Time running real quick. Right? Abanda. I know it all. Right? Remember this one. Whenever I know it all comes and asks you for advice, what do? Scream Kuhaya and run away. Okay? And someone who has never cared for you your whole life, right? All of a sudden become very concerned. You think he's concerned about you? Right? What do you do? Scream Kuhaya and run away. Will I answer him? Right? Scream Kuhaya and run away. Because change doesn't come easy. Right? Don't get fooled by them. Don't get fooled by the clock too, so I'm moving on. This Banda Ravan, right? Dasamukha Gayahu Jama Maricha. He approached to this marriage. And like I said, Swami Tulsidas wasn't very flattering, right, in his description of the actions of Ravan here. And I want to be very clear to you when we read sometimes as we ask. We read the scriptures and sometimes there's an interpolation in the scriptures and the lines could be blurred between what the scriptures say, what our philosophies or darshanas say, and what the opinion of the Vyas is. If we are able to distinguish this, it helps us a lot sometimes. But this is not my point. My point is, I remain committed to bringing to you the messages of the scriptures. So I will take the opportunity to remind you that I'm not sitting here doing a commentary on Sri Ramcharitra. I am bringing to you Sri Ramcharitra in the way that I feel it should be expressed. And I stay true. I stay true to Swami Tulsidas Ji. And I use a terrible word, I use Kuhaya, and I use Banda, right, to describe Ravan. And I want to tell you that this is not my opinion. I am not characterizing Ravan in this way. Goswami Tulsidas Ji himself, as we started listening to what his Rakshas is about in a few minutes, right? Goswami Tulsidas Ji himself, right, described Ravan in that way. He said, Dasasiratahi Bees Bhujanga. Dasasiratahi Bees Bhujanga. Ravana Nam Veer Bari Banda. So there you have it. This is not in the realm of opinion here. This is Ramcharitra Manas. This Hal devotee, this Ravan, right? He went in front of his uncle and just like with Kuhaya, right? He started to ask of his uncle's well-being. He feigned humility, right? He was stupid to conquer, so to speak. And he appeared to be requesting, marriage. He said, "Oh uncle, right? Oh uncle, I need your help with something. I am depending on you." It didn't go so fast as they called him father once. Oh my, I probably want to follow in there. Okay? He said, "Father, I've come to you with a request." What is that request? It would be. Don't take my word for it. Goes from Tulsidas. दसमुख सकल कथाते आगे दसमुख सकल कथाते आगे कहे सहित अभिमान जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम I depend on you so greatly. Would you help me with this? He explained to him, Dasamukh sakal kathate hi aage. He began to explain what happened with Karan, Dushan and Surpanakha, how she got chopped and so on, and what he planned to do. And he said, oh, father, uncle, this is what I plan on doing, son. I'd like to ask you to help me out with this plan, help me with this plan. Ravana is saying to Marish, he said, oh, father, uncle, I know you developed tremendous yogic powers, you're in my kingdom and I'm observing you. So now, use that power that you've accumulated for me. Use that power for me. Sounds like he gone from Ramayan to politics. He says, go to Panchavati, Ravana said, go to that forest where the Lord is, and you'll see Raja Dasratha's son, he's there in exile. Okay? He said, that same Rama he knew from before. He said, Marich, he's framing this nicely, Ravana. He said, Marich, uncle, this is your chance. Imagine this, devotees. All of this is about Marich, right? He has accumulated this power, so he will use it for our. He can use it for our. And Ravana is telling Marish now, this is your chance. This is your chance to get back. To get back to what happened when you get married. Right? And he'll fill you all the way. And he said, 2 million child party. He said, this is what you should do. This is what you should do, Marish. Disguise yourself as a dare. Make yourself magical. Make yourself beautiful and irresistible. Then distract Sita. See if you can lure the prince. I don't want to call him anything like that, right? See if you can lure the prince, Shree, out of the compound. And then Ravana says, when you do that, I will go and I will steal away Sita. This old reformed Rakshas devotees, when you hear this, even for our Rakshas he was shocked. He was in disbelief. And he began to shake. He began to quiver in fear. Goes from Tulsidas to takes the Yagna medicine. When Marish heard this, he was shocked. He was besides himself with fear. And he began to object. He began to remonstrate, right, with Ravana. He said, essentially he was saying to Ravana, King, Emperor, Master, do you hear yourself? Are you for real? If this is what you're trying to do. And then devotees, Marish made possibly, now I will tell you, I'm going from the basis down to the Pramanas. I don't want you to classify what I say as a low opinion. I'm not sharing my opinion yet, but I'm sharing teachings. I'll tell you some of the things that I think when I come to this place in Sri Ramchandra Pramanas. Marish made possibly by opposing Ravana here the biggest mistake you can make when you deal with a shoe, right? Certified, authenticated banda. And what is that? He began to caution him. He began to warn him. And just like Ravana came nice and meek, although they were this Chalakari, he was faking, right? He came meek like a son started to pull Mari's father and take. Right? Mari said, he said, son, this is a serious mistake. This is a colossal error in judgment that you're making here. Okay? This force that you're trying to put me against is no ordinary force. That's when Ramchandra Pramanas and Yagna, Tat Ram Nahi Nar Bhupala. This is not a man. Bhuvaneshwar, Talag Karakala. He is the cause of all beings. And this is what you're planning? Marish devotees gave some advice to the know-it-all. He gave some advice to the Banda. And he said, Bhagwan King, it is by his will. What you're planning there, the object of your plan, it is by his will that we're alive. And it is at his discretion that we will be kept alive. And this is what you're planning to do? Marriage devotees, continue to try to persuade Ravan out of this life-threatening and foolhardy plan. And then Marriage finally said the thing, that trip off Ravan. Right? And what was that? Marriage said, Master, Emperor, King, instead of doing this, it is better you consider the welfare of your entire village. Because in doing this, all will be lost. You will lose it all, not only yourself, but your entire crew. And Marriage said to him, go back home. Go back home, King, go back in the kingdom without ever imagining, right, to execute such a dangerous, foolhardy, and self-destructive plan. Spend some time describing the Mandir and the Kubhaya. What do you think will happen when you talk to somebody like that this way? How do you think they will be reacted? Ravan is enraged. Okay? And he launched into an abusive devotee, a tirade now against Marriage. And when full circle now, true colors coming out. Marriage, I was just surprised, Marriage went from being a father to being a murkha fool because he gave him some advice. And he asked him, he said, oh Marriage, I didn't come to you for advice since when you became a guru. I didn't come for advice, I come for help. And he went on and said, listen to this part. He said, I'm seeking your help because, after all, when we listen now, lessons in life, like I said, lessons in life are there in Sri Ramchandra Pramanas, if you want to take that. He said, you, Guruji, fake Guruji, right? You're giving me advice when I ask for help. I'm seeking your help because, after all, Marriage, after all, it is me who housed you when you fall in the city. It is me, I gave you shelter. I am affording you these freedoms you have. I am giving you the food that you eat and the protections that you enjoy. And the planet devotees, he said there, Marriage, father to fool, this is how you repay me? This is how you repay me. Life lesson devotees is glaring. It's glaring. When you take help from someone, those of us who wish to take their advice, when you choose or decide or consider to take help from someone, think carefully when you take that help. This first thing, think carefully when you take the help, because the time might be an opportunity for you, not the person you're seeking help from. Be careful who you take that help from. The person. It could be a Mandir or Kubhaya. Consider your condition when you take. Never take devotees when you're a beggar. Even if there's a time you may be most. Sometimes it's better to hold your pride and bang your belly. Because when you take in these conditions, you act a little bit desperately and you don't know what the interest rate is. The interest rate is in what you take. Be careful what you take. Never take something devotees from someone. Never borrow, never take a loan, whatever it is, of something that you know there is no possibility that you could ever pay back. It's a dangerous thing. Be careful too also how much you take. Because I believe that's even more of this. The payment devotees, it may cost you in your image. It may cost you in your pride. It might cost you in your integrity. So when you choose to ask, when you choose to take like Marriage did from Ravan, make sure you can answer these questions first. And Marriage realized at that point that he couldn't answer those very same questions. And he was faced with a serious problem. He was approached by Ravan, and look now what happened. He is reproached by Ravan for seeking Marriage, for seeking his own interest. Because he had already borrowed and now he was helpless. he was about to possibly make his way somewhere. As I continue to share some of the gems, I'd like to talk about this. I'll be kind of a little warm up again, so a little fast and with you, right? Chandra Maharaj, he tells us now, he cautions us, I should say, about 9 people. 9 people you never want to make an enemy with in India. Okay? Who are these 9 people? The first one is anybody who is better than you at something. Okay? Whether it be a sport, God forbid a weapon or something. Right? Don't make an enemy with that person because you know what will happen. Right? You will be the challenger for a moment and then after that you will be the knock you will get the cup. Okay? So never make enemies with someone who's better than you or something. Take it easy and be a humble. Never make enemies with somebody who knows your secrets. Okay? Why? I need to say it. They could sell you out. They could sell you out. Never make enemies with your leader. Okay? Because he has the power to build or to break you. And he has a choice to do either one at any time. Never make enemies with a fool. Okay? Or a dunce, as we say. Because that dunce could one day embarrass you, shame you, without even knowing it sometimes. Never make enemy with a wealthy person. Because they can overpower you with their needs. And if they can't do that, they'll buy your enemies. So that's a dangerous thing too. I personally, I should know when I say this one. I can't know what I'm saying to you right now. Never make enemy with your doctor. Okay? Because he has many ways he can kill you and nobody would know. Okay? Let me move on quick from now. Never make enemies with someone who is likely to speak. All I hear is one word. Never make enemies with someone who is likely to speak at your funeral. I think you know why, right? Unless you really have it going, right? You can't respond. Okay? That person could misrepresent you. You're still being. And like I said, unless you have some serious stuff going on, you can't do anything about it. Okay? That's the 7th. Who is the 8th? Now my words. Okay? Now my words. Gentlemen, don't make enemy with your lives. Okay? Some of us will know and some of us will find out. They're dangerous. Okay? They could make us suffer. So be good and play good. Pretend. The last one, China Kimana says, never make enemy with the cook. Okay, and now all of you are lucky to have cook and thing, right? Myself included. But the cook could be, you are lucky wife, your husband cooking. Right? Maybe you are lucky husband and wife cooking for you too. Right? Never make enemy with your cook, even if that cook is your spouse. Why? It's just like the doctor, they could poison you. Right? And it might be a little too late to respond. Okay? Spare thought for those whose doctors is their cooks too. Okay? And those who understand that look. So on one hand, marriage was in a lose-lose situation here, I should say. He was in a lose-lose situation where on one hand, he could be killed by Ravan. On the other hand, devotees. So Swami Tulsidas tells us as he takes, look at how he says. He gives us a beautiful chant. He takes us into the mind of marriage. He says, Neja Parama Pita Devi Uchana Sukhaya Kari Sukhpani Ham Shree Sahat Anuj Samet Kripa Niket Padma Neja Parama He pulls the curtain again, another curtain he pulls. This time on the mind of this unfortunate Rakshas, this reformed Rakshas, Marish. He says, Nicha Parama Prema Dekhi Lochana. He said, look at this situation Rama has put me in. On one hand I can disobey him, on the other hand I could oppose the Lord. But what if? Now he's thinking, and he's saying, what if I choose to oppose the Lord? Then, Nija Parama Pritama Dekhi Lochana. My eyes will be rewarded with the form of the Lord. I will behold my master as Suranaya Narayana. I shall fix my eyes on the lotus-like feet of the Lord. And not only that, if I oppose Ravana, if I choose to go with Ravana and oppose the Lord, I will also get the darshan of Mahalakshmi Sita Narayana. I will get the darshan of Shesha. Nija Parama Priti Dekhi Lochana. Marish is saying to himself, a choice has to be made. Marish makes his choice. He says, choose death, which is the hands of Ravana, or I can choose this little piece, moksha. Death is refusing to help Ravana, opposing the Lord. He will be released from the curse that is holding him in that body of the Asura. Asura devotees, Marish decided to act. He agreed to help Ravana. I take the Kathalam devotees as we try to complete it. Swami Tulsidas takes us further on the journey. Marish has now agreed. He says, okay Ravana, let's do this. How is it going to happen? Sita Parama Ruchira Mriga Dekha, the final devotee's movement that takes this day that started so in such a regular state of solitude, happiness, contentment, to the sharp irony devotees of Lalita Nar Leela. the final move. Ram and Sita, right? They were there. Once again, Lakshmana led the way, enjoying the jewels of nature. And not far away from the ashram, because remember they were in a forested area. Sita parama ruchir mriga dekha. Sita, she saw something. Okay? She saw something. This Vedvati, posing as Sita, she saw appearing in the distance Ruchir Mriga. She saw a wonderful, a heavenly deer, beautifully devotees, adorned and decked like no one had seen before. Ati Sundar Chala. Goswami says it had a golden hide, golden skin, and the spots on the skin were like beads and gems and diamonds, devotees embedded into that golden drapery of the skin. He said its hooves, the hooves of that deer, were as black as midnight. Yet it glistened on the plush carpet, the green carpet of that floor of Panchayat. You know, to say the antlers, the horns of that deer, it was like a golden perch upon which one can rest all of the joys in life. This was the deer that Vedvati she beheld. This exquisitely charming heavenly creature, devotees, coming into Vedvati's vision in this way, realizing that they now had sight of each other. Look at what the deer did. This deer devotees began to gingerly, very cautiously emerge from the trees outside of the ashram. Cautiously began approaching the ashram, but not looking, head down as if it's grazing and going. This deer devotees then entered into the courtyard of the Lord's ashram. Looking at that deer devotee, Sita became lost away. Then devotees, as that deer came and got Sita's attention and charmed in this way, the deer stopped, it raised its head and it looked right at Sita. And in doing so, they made eye contact. The desire now in Sita, Vedvati Sita, to touch that deer and to be near it, it became strong. And as that desire was etched in herself, in her being, the deer now devotees, it darted back into the woods, it ran away. Sita was startled by this sudden disappearance of the deer. She stood up quickly as if losing something precious, and she ran devotees to her master. She ran to her Pati Shree. She said, "Oh Radhuraya, I've just seen the most beautiful thing ever. I've seen the most beautiful creature I've ever seen in Panchayati. It's a deer, and my desire, Lord, my desire, O lover of mine, is to keep it, is to have it." And it went into the trees. Oh Radhuraya, won't you fetch it for me? Won't you go bring that deer for me so I may keep it as company? Surudeva Raghuveer Kripala Ehi Mrigatar Ati Sundara Chala. No one can say why devotees in this katha. At this point, if you read Sri Ramcharitra, no one can say why, but Sri Ram. Even though Swamiji didn't dare to explain why, Sri Ram, in hearing these words of Sita, the Lord devotees, smiling, he grabbed his bow and he sprung and he ran after that deer. O Lord devotees, he promised Sita that deer and he would bring it back into the ashram. But by leaving, he had a word for Lakshmana. As he picked up his stuff and began to go chase that deer and bring it back as he was requested, he said, "Lakshmana, brother, this is a that forest and it's very dangerous. And it's riddled with dangers in every corner. Stay here and do not leave. Stay with Sita and do not leave her alone." And so they were to come to the climax of our katha. In Sri Ram, chasing this deer, a chase began. Goswami Tulsidas tells us beautifully again in Chopai. Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Nigameti Shiva Dhana Maya The mystery of the Lord, the little leela of the Lord preceding disaster. Marriage, springing to the forest, realizing that the Lord has begun to follow him now, anticipating that the Lord is behind him. Marriage disguised as the deer would travel a little way into the forest, and then he would stop. That beautiful form that he had that day, he would look back, he would gaze back, until he got a glimpse of the Lord chasing him. And then he would bound off again, a little distance into the woods, luring devotees the Lord Shree Ram deeper and deeper into the forest, surrounding them. Goswami Tulsidas himself touched by this kale, this leela of the Lord, this little leela. He said, the Lord, oh Bhagavan, reflecting to himself, pulling the devotees on his own thoughts now. Says, Bhagavan, you are described as Nigamaneti by Shankar Maharaj himself. Nigamaneti Shiva Dhyana Bhava. Even Shankar Maharaj is mesmerized by your Leela, Prabhu, unfathomable, unattainable by your devotees. And such an irony, devotees. Goswami says, and Bhagavan, you're in pursuit of a deer. You're in pursuit of this deer. He says, Bhagavan, you are now the seeker, the sought after. You are the seeker, and the deer is being sought after. The world seeks you. Bhagavan, you're seeking this deer. Confounding is a mystery, brother. Now deep into the forest, as Goswami thinks, Shree Ram is being lured further and further into those woods. Marriage, looking back for the last time over things. Marriage, disguised as the deer, he stopped for the last time. He stopped and he stood still. Marriage devotees, at that point, he came face to face with Bhagavan. And for an instant, just like his eyes met with that of Devati Sita, now the eyes of marriage met with the Lord. Their cosmic history, their cosmic past, devotees began to play between their eyes. And marriage, he bowed his head to Sri Jagdish Narayan Bhagavan. Coming face to face with the Lord in this way, Marriage in the form of the deer, he closed his eyes and he bowed his head and kept it there. Closing his eyes, he waited. Marriage waited. And with his eyes closed, Marriage felt the piercing of an arrow. He felt the piercing of an arrow devotees through his hide. And instantly, by being struck by the arrow of the Lord in this way, he was transformed. Transformed back in this terrible, righteous form, devotees. And as his last few breaths, Marriage left his body, the final Leela, the final tale, the final mystery unfolded. Being shot by Shree Ram in this way and coming into his righteous form once more, in the last moments, the last breaths of his body, look at what Marriage did. He looked at the Lord again in his face. Without taking his eyes off the Lord, Marriage, the righteous now, he cried at the top of his lungs, he began to cry. Imitating the voice of Sri Ram. Mimicking the voice of the Lord, he said, Ah, Lakshman. He said, Ah, Sita. As if it is Sri Ram who was struck with the arrow, he was in danger. calling out to Lakshmana and Sita in the voice of Sri Ram. This Maharaji fell down lifeless, he fell down there. His consciousness devotees. Goswami West describes for us, assumed a beautiful form and ascended into the heavens. When that happened, devotees, the parents came home. Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Lakshmana Kari Prathami Lai Ram, Pache Sumir Pache Sumir Santan Mahurama, Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Pran Tajat Pragit Siddh Deha, Sumar Sri Ram Samet Saneha, Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. After the devotees, Maharaj called out this Lakshmana, Lakshmana, Sita, in the voice of the Lord himself, impersonating the Lord. Sri Ram, realizing what has just happened, he immediately turned around. Immediately the devotees, the Lord turned around and bolted back towards the ashram that he has just left, knowing that. Well, running back devotees, as fast as he could have, reaching the ashram, our Lord Sri Ram, he beheld a scene. It's interesting that Goswami Tulsidas Ji could not bear to write a chaupai to describe this. We have to get it from other Ramayan. But running back into that ashram as quickly as he could, this is what the Lord witnessed. Now we pull the curtains on the eyes of the Lord. Bhagwan Sri Ram in Lalit Naralila. Running back into that compound, Sri Ram saw nothing and no one. It was empty. Sri Ram called out to Sita, no answer. Called out to Lakshman, no answer came from either of them. Ashram devotees were silent, nothing. No one else could be heard. In the unbearable silence of that empty ashram devotees, now the air was filled with only regret. Sita was now gone. What transpires onward from here is the subject of other Katana or Yagna. So devotees, this is where I will stop today. In the mode of Ramcharitamanas Goswami teaching us, we end in doing. It is 9:10 and I made a choice to take the Kathas down as far as I can in an effort to conclude it. And so we have in Aranyakan this episode in which, like I said, we consider how the day started and how it ended. Once again, ending in tragedy. So many points to ponder, so many things that will keep us on the journey of Sri Ramcharitamanas. All I can offer to you at this point is that we continue to listen, we continue to seek opportunities, we continue to come out to Yagna here and elsewhere also. We commit ourselves to Pravachan, to our acharyas, to our gurus, and we perform a fast and we continue to seek on the journey. This is my humble offering to you tonight, everyone here. Holy Sri Sitaram Chandra Ki Jai. Very quickly, devotees, before I hand the mic over for the conclusion, I want to, on my own behalf, say what a blessing to all of you for coming out yet again tonight. I know the challenge was a bit stiff today, but you have answered, and many blessings to you. There are 5 nights to go, devotees, from tomorrow. I'm happy to let you know that tomorrow my Bhaiya, Guruji, and my family from the Raj Tiwari is going to be reading. I encourage you to come out and support it. I will be here, we will all be here. Let us journey onwards of Sri Ramayan. A word to members of Ramayan for your support tonight and a nice one by. You as always, you embody service, you embody seva, not as a theory but as a precept, as an act of divine inclination. So blessings to all of you. Tonight's very important support system. Okay? Well, yes, man, and the Florence moms to you. Many, many blessings. As soon as we set this up, you put your hand up as always, right? And you set the example once again. I hope this has been a fruitful experience for you. I express the hope that the man Swaminarayan continues to shower his blessings upon you and keep you looking so young. Okay? Many blessings to you. To my father-in-law, John, right, who made prasad for you tonight. You're in for a treat also. Thank you very much, Dad, right, for once again stepping up and serving the needs of the Hindu community. We appreciate it, and certainly the entire association appreciates it. Many thanks from everyone. To my sons, Panitu Siraj, Jagdish, for us today, I want to say blessings to you. Tonight was a big stage for them, and I know, probably a little bit unnerving, I know who always leave them alone when it comes to time. I'm not sure to them pretty well. But today, they were here by themselves. I want to say blessings to you, but also in the same vein, I would like to, on behalf of Priya and myself,
Thank you very much. It's cold. I'm not going to be long tonight, but I want to just say that our Vyasji took his time and he went through the entire Aranyakanda and very beautifully bringing it and delivering it to us in a very simple way. But most importantly, Marich had a choice. Marich could have been killed by Ravana if he refused, but he decided to be killed by the Lord Shree Ram. And so he was, ultimately he came and he was doing, as our Vyasji said, if you listen carefully, the work of Shree Ram. So if he was killed by Ravana, it would have been a Maran. If he's killed, but he decided to kill by Lord Rama, so he's Taran. So Taran means that he's got moksha. Maran means this ordinary death, he will be coming again. So Marish made the right choice. You all made the right choice by coming here tonight in spite of the cold, no? So thank you all very much. God bless all of you. But I'm very happy tonight, Vyasji, that you're molding your 3 sons to become pandits. And it is nice to see our young Brahmin boys learning the art of being a pandit. And really, really nice. So now, the 3 of you, stand please. Stand up, the 3 of you. What's your name? Jagdish. So this is, the eldest is Tulsi Rajji, the second one is Vasudev, and next to me is Jagdishwar. And so these are 3 young pandits that they're getting trained and they're coming up. And so we know that when us, the older ones, will be moving on in life, here, this is the future of our Dharma here in Florida. Another round of applause for them. Thank you very much. And that's basically all I have to say. God bless all of you. See you all here tomorrow night. We will join with our own Pandit Raj Tiwari in the journey into Kishkindakan. Shri Ram Chandra Bhagwan ki Jai.
Om Sajan Chavarti Sanyutam Vahinyayogitamna Deepam Grihana Devi Trailoke
मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गमय सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयात् सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। उमापति महादेव की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, शरणम प्रभु सब संतन की जय 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 सीताराम। प्रेम से व्यास भगवान की प्रेम से बोलो श्री रामचंद्र भगवान की सनातन धर्म की जय। Permit me for 2 minutes of your time, please. Take your seats, everybody. On behalf of the Federation of Hindu Mandirs in the USA for this Parishad, permit me to extend a very heartfelt thanks to all of you, our Vyasji and his family and members of Dharma Inc. for all your kind contributions this evening. To all our Panditjis that are here, our Vyasji, Panditji Ravi Maharaj, or Dharmacharya ji, Panditji Raj Balkaran Tiwari, Panditji Vishnu Harwar Pandey, Panditji Ganeshji Sukul, Panditji Manush Prasad, Panditji Gurdat Jagdanand, Panditji Tulsi Das Maharaj, Panditji Vasudev Maharaj, Panditji Gareshwar Ramsahai, Panditji Jagdish Maharaj, and of course Panditji Shukla. To all who contributed this evening financially, we thank you very much for your kind donation and contributions. To all the members of the Federation of Hindu Mandirs that are here, Auntie Vedu and Presidentji made special trip. Thank you very much. Please, bhojan has been prepared because of the weather. It's been inside the dining area, so you can pick up your bhojan. And Sunday morning, Panditji Ganesh Sukul. We have a presentation for our Vyasji. Please bear with us one minute.
Let me just read this very quickly. The Federation of Hindu Mandirs, in collaboration with USA for this Parishad, with our greatest appreciation, we hereby honor Panditji Ravidat Maharaj for your unwavering support and service to Ramayan in the Park and the Hindu community. With sincere thanks and gratitude.
Mangalam Mangala Vishnu Mangalam Gradatuja Mangalam Pundrikacham Mangalaya Tano Hari Om Tat Sat Hari Om. Prem Vyas Bhagwan Ki Jai. Again, thank you all very much. Please invite your friends and family for the remainder of the Yagna here at the Jalaram.